Greetings, I am Kier Agustin from the Bachelor of Fine Arts, major in Digital Media Arts, Section A. In this video, I want to share about myself through the four perspective of the self, which is the philosophical, the sociological, the anthropological, and of course the psychological. For the philosophical perspective, I chose Socrates' idea of know thyself. Most of the time, I just go with the flow of life, like waking up, going to school, going home, and repeating the same routine. But even in those loops, I often stop and ask myself, who am I really? What is my purpose in this life? I admit that I doubt myself a lot. I question whether what I do even matters. But over the time, I've learned to appreciate the small things I contribute, and I realize that my purpose doesn't have to be big or to be grand, but my purpose is to fill the people around me with love, to help make their lives a little lighter, and to show them that they are seen and valued. I want to be someone who helps those in need, who shows empathy, and who is willing to put myself in other people's shoes. Because of this, I see myself as a compassionate and nurturing person, someone whose personality is shaped by the desire and the care to love. For the sociological perspective, I chose Cooley's concept of the looking glass self. Honestly, I don't really think too much about how other people see me, but as I interacted more with others, I started realizing that there's so much more to me than I thought. For example, my friends often describe me as smart, courageous, and dedicated, and my family thinks so highly of me that sometimes they think I can do anything. But hearing those words is, yes, very encouraging, but also that they don't show the whole picture of who I am. Deep inside, I also have fears, doubts, and insecurities that people don't always see. But still, the way other people see me helps me discover different sides of myself. It makes me realize that I am not only the person that I think I am, but also the person others reflects back to me. And together, those views shape me into someone more complete. For the anthropological perspective, I believe that culture really shapes who I am. Because growing up Filipino, I was raised with values of respect for elders, close family ties, and strong community bonds. I grew up in a religion where we often speak Filipino, so saying po and opo, doing mana po, and practicing hospitality are things I grew up with, and they continue to guide me in how I interact with others. I also carry the value of the bayanihan, or helping one another, which reminds me to always be kind and always willing to lend a hand. These cultural practices are not just traditions, they became part of my personality as well. They remind me that I am not just an individual, but someone molded by culture, which has taught me compassion, respect, and of course, resilience. And finally, for the psychological perspective, I connect with Erickson's stage of identity versus role confusion. I grew up in a very religious family, and as someone who is a part of the LGBT community, that made my journey very challenging. And for a long time, I wished that I was different. I thought I was never going to be good enough because of who I am, and that led me to hate myself. But as I grew older, I learned to accept myself. I realized that my identity is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to embrace. I surrounded myself with people who accepted me and loved me for who I am, and that gave me the courage to also love myself too. Even though my family doesn't fully accept me, I now have friends who are like my second family, and I have myself. And honestly, that's more than I could ever ask for. My struggles made me stronger, and it taught me that acceptance starts from within. So, after reflecting on these four perspectives, I realized that my identity is shaped by many things: my self reflection, my relationships, my culture, and even my struggles. Each perspective gave me a different way of seeing myself, but together they show the bigger picture of who I am. I may still be growing and figuring things out, but I've learned to appreciate myself more. I know now that I am not just defined by one part of me, but by all these pieces that make me whole. So, and that would be all. I hope you've learned something from my experiences, and thank you for listening and for giving me a chance to share my story.